Okay, hello everybody. This is the first video I've done, and today we're going to be playing Creeper World IXE, and we're going to have some fun. So let's start. So we're going to play a generated map, so there's also a story and some set maps that have been made for the game, but we're going to do the map generator. We've got the settings on high enemies and maximum ships, so it's going to be a big level. And I found this one and I think it looks quite interesting, so let's click play. I'll just show you what's going on here. So if you've never played any of the Creeper games or Creeper World IXE, the blue stuff is Creeper. It's bad, it destroys your ships, and it kind of floods the level, and you have to shoot it to get rid of it. You'll see that the level is it's a bit of space at the top, and then most of it is made up of kind of various types of rock that you can sort of terraform to get access to different parts of the level or to do different things. Over here you've got creeper emitters. They create creeper, and we've got one over here as well. You've got this sort of blue and orange door that creates little robots that attack your troops. We've got these sort of boxes which are quite important to winning the game, and you kind of activate those once you've got rid of the creeper, and that kind of wins you the game. Some other stuff, we've got some emitters down here, and we've got these little sort of double crown things. They shoot sort of aerial bombardments at you, and if they land, if they explode, then creeper can get in behind your position, so they can be quite damaging if you don't deal with them. And these sorts of little green X's, they create little particles which react with the creeper and create more creeper. So we've got some stuff going on down here, but really the main event in this level is this this set of emitters up here. So we've got quite a lot of creeper in here, which is going to stop us getting access to this anti-creeper. Anti-creeper basically works the same as creeper, but it's sort of the opposite of creeper. It nullifies creeper, I guess. Now I don't know if this is going to work. I haven't tried this. We're just going to try and see if we've got enough time to build up a fleet over here, because there's quite a lot of emission over here. So let's give this a go. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to plant our capital ship, and we're going to press pause, and we're going to build some of these reactors. Now we've got a few things to worry about. We've got robots which will start coming from this robot emitter. We need to build up our own energy, because energy is sort of the currency of the game. And there's another thing which happens early on in these games, which is... Okay, so I'm just pausing it a second. I'm going to add another of these little ships, so you can see that the creeper is building up here. It's going to pour all over the top, and it's basically going to come for our position. And what we need to do is make sure that we've got a good enough energy production base that we can survive, basically. In this early stage in the game I don't want to build too many things, so even though I know I need more energy to survive, and I sort of feel like I need another ship as well, I just need to be a bit careful. So I want to build up this reactor that's nearly built. Okay, and I'm also going to build some anti-air stuff, because that's another issue that I'm going to have to deal with very, very soon. I think at 1 minute 10 usually you get a warning about anti-air stuff, so I need to build that really quickly. Let's hope I've timed that right. I'm going to hold off doing anything else. You can see that the creeper's slowly rising. The other thing I'm going to need to do is get these yellow crystals. So these yellow crystals increase the efficiency of your energy generation. So I think I've done okay there. I just want to charge this up. And I'm going to try and build another one. I don't know if I'm actually going to have time to do this. I might just switch off the ammo resupply for a second, just so I can focus all of my energy on this one ship, see if we can get a few extra bullets out of it. Okay, so you can see that these things kind of come across from each of these different these sort of yellow and purple crowns, and they fire up all the way across the level. They can go right across the top. And here's your anti-air, and that's pretty good. That means that so I can turn back on my ammo resupply. Here we seem to be holding off the robots fairly well, which is really good. So the next thing I want to do is just build out. We've got reasonable air defense. I just want to build out the rest of my reactors and get that up to speed. The reactors take a little bit of time to get fully charged, so the sooner you can build them, the better. Right, that's changed position slightly, so they're going towards my reactors, so I need to make sure these are defended properly. Basically, these robots seem to head for whatever the closest one of your units they can get. So let's build another one. I'm trying to build one at a time. Let me check. I think I've got the energy to build two. Okay, you can see they sort of shifted their position again. I'm just going to move my mothership forward. We've got phantoms coming in, so we'll have another air attack. We should be okay with two of these things as long as they get recharged. Two more reactors to build. So the way this game works is that you can only build so many ships of a certain type. Okay, so far this is not too bad. Okay, the thing that I was most worried about was being flooded by this creeper here. But actually that doesn't seem to be too much of a problem. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to drill down and get this yellow crystal. So having built all of my I'm going to try and get these two crystals actually. I actually think the next biggest threat that I've got here is anti-air, is sort of aerial attack. I'm going to build one of these ships. This is a digger. It allows you to sort of dig. It has a bigger circumference than the capital ship. I'm going to build another two of these little fighters. What you'll see is that we get this stream of energy which goes down to the crystal and basically unlocks it. I'm really tempted to get this one too, but I'm also worried that if I do, that'll flood, and then I'm going to have a real problem. So I'm going to play it safe, and I'm just going to. I'm not going to go for this one, because if I drill through, I could create a real problem for myself. What we're going to do is get all of these yellow crystals, and actually this isn't too bad at all. This is quite a good position, because even though this is starting to flood, it's taking quite a long time. I'm going to be easily able to get a whole set of crystals, and now, having done that, I can really start to build up my fleet. I'm not too fussed about. I'm going to build another anti-air thing. The only thing I need to slightly worry about is once you start moving outside a sort of core area of your own base, some of the ships that you have positioned, so this one for example, could get attacked. So that's a bit of a risk. I think I'm going to move forward now, because I don't necessarily need to. to be a bit cautious, because if I'm too cavalier about this, then it could be a bit problematic. Okay, so see, for example, they are quite dangerous, these things. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I've got an anti-aircraft that's sticking with this. I can also give myself a bit of breathing space by creating extra pockets of space for the creeper to go in, this creeper flow. Basically what I want to do is take this creeper flow now and then attack these emitters down here. I don't want to get my ships damaged by the robots that are kind of constantly attacking, so I need to be a bit careful. I'm going to need to move some anti-air support over here so I've got good coverage, and making sure that my ships aren't too exposed. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build these sort of teleport portals, and that'll just help with logistics of getting, you see at the moment all of the energy is kind of flowing from the reactors to the ship, and then that distributes these red particles, which are sort of bullets or ammunition. So what I want to do is this teleport means they can go through the teleport and come out the other side, which just helps with the logistics of getting ammunition to the front line. There's quite a lot of creeper. It's not hugely thick. One of the things you need to do in this game is you need to use this bar at the bottom. So if you see this blue bar, I think you can see where my cursor is, where it says metal and land. It shows you a sort of it shows you a bar with how much creeper there is, because it's a bit deceptive. It looks like there's loads and loads and loads, and there's only a little bit down here. Well, actually, this is only sort of 4.8 thick, or if I move my cursor, that's 5.1. That's very low. But in here, you've got sort of a reading anywhere up to sort of 600-700. If you go lower, you've got over 1,000 there. So if I was to break this wall, that would flood completely, and I'd be in real trouble if I didn't have enough of a fleet set up to stop it. So I'm going to progressively moving forward. Got to be careful about the phantoms. There's a phantom countdown over here. The phantoms are the air, the sort of air stuff that gets fired at you. I'm going to build my first frigate. These are quite good, big, all-purpose ships. I'm going to build another portal down here. That'll help with. In fact, I'm going to build all 3 of my frigates now. And yeah, my job at this point it really is to build out my fleet, progress forward, and destroy all of those emitters. I'm going to build these little ice ships. They're not the best, but they're okay. And yeah, we're going to move forward, and we'll keep getting that sort of air raid siren of phantoms about to attack. I think there's not really much reason for me not to have my capital ship helping out in the front line. So I think once I'm just going to move this forward a little bit. I think the only downside of this game, I've been playing it for a while, is just the sort of the grind of sort of slowly moving your troops forward. Is probably the only thing. I think I'm in a pretty strong position. I can, to help me out, I can get rid of some of this land, and that just sort of takes some of the impetus out of their attack. It just kind of, dilutes is the wrong word, but it sort of softens their attack, it spreads it out a bit more. So we've got to slowly move forward and just be careful about air cover. So I'm going to move this one down here now, because you can kind of see the radius on these things. It's quite big. You want it to be as close to where the attacks are coming from as possible. So in the same way I can move this one down. Right, let's move this guy forward as well. So now my fleet's got pretty good cover from any attackers, and now we just kind of move our ships forward. I've actually got enough that I can build some more portals to kind of help with the logistics of moving things around, and I'm going to build a couple of these anti-creeper bombs. So I don't have access to anti-creeper because that is unfortunately the only emitter that's on the level is, and there's usually only one per level, that's here in this gigantic puddle of creeper that was there at the start. So I'm just moving everything slowly forward. Main thing to watch out for is air cover. I think we're in a good position here. Just trying to think. So there's one down here, isn't there? So there's one that could come straight up. So I think what I'll do, I've got one spare portal here. This is probably a bit overkill, to be honest. But I think I'm going to just carve that out and move that other anti-air defense just down there, and I think that'll help a little bit. Right, moving across. This is quite helpful. I was a bit worried about this. It's difficult to tell, because there's quite a few emitters down there. I think there's 5 emitters. That is quite a lot to have in one place. I've got to make sure the portals keep up. Right, I'll show you this bomb. So the way this works is it turns a radius of, I think the way it works is it turns a radius around it into anti-creeper. So you'll see anti-creeper if you haven't seen this before, if you're not familiar with the game. So you'll see it kind of, it explodes, and then this light blue stuff is anti-creeper. And the anti-creeper basically neutralizes the creeper. One of the things that makes this game quite interesting is the way the liquid physics work, and they are both like liquid physics, but also there's a bit that's counterintuitive. That's a problem. Okay, I think we just about got away with that. I'm gonna risk maybe getting caught out here and just move one of these over so we've got better coverage for the fleet. Got another anti-creeper bomb that we can use. The main thing now is just to keep progressing, give ourselves a little bit more space. I think the other dimension in this game is the amount of space that you've got to actually stage your attacks. This is quite straightforward because it's only creeper and the robots. Some cases, what you'll see later on is that these ones have this green stuff called particulate that most of your ships can't actually do anything with. I'm going to build another bomb. That's it. So we're moving forward, ever onward, and we've got to build a couple of things called nullifiers. I'll just build 3 of them to get built. We're getting closer and closer. I think we will be getting rid of this lot fairly soon. Okay, that seems to be working okay. The biggest risk I think we've got, I forgot to move that down. Biggest risk we've got is we get hit, particularly the energy generation gets hit from behind by one of those attacks. That would be very damaging. That would be a real problem. Probably wouldn't ruin us. Probably wouldn't ruin the game, but it would mean that we'd have to sort of start again. And having not nullified these these various kind of emitters, then we'd have a bit of a problem. We'd have to start again. I'm gonna get rid of this just so I can move this anti-air forward a bit, so it provides a bit more protection. Okay, so we've got. It's quite nice. It's a bit of a matter of pride if you can nullify a whole bunch of them at once. This would be 6. Let's see if we can nullify 6 at once. That's something special. Wow, there we go. Okay, brilliant. Alright. So I'm just going to pause it for a second. So we've nullified this side, so that means that the most immediate threat to the base is gone. What I've got to think about is what I want to tackle next. In a sense, this is bottled up and I could leave it right until the end. But I kind of like the idea of actually having some anti-creeper and pouring that into a level just because it's fun. So I could attack this first and just uncork this, deal with the creeper that's inside, get rid of that emitter and set up some anti-creeping mining operation. Or I guess the other thing I could do is attack these 2 formations, probably this one first because I just drill down. I think what I'm going to do is something that's sort of in the middle. I think I'm going to uncork this and get the AC because I think it'll be fun. In order to do that, I'm going to need a little bit more digging power. Okay, so we're going to need to dig a big hole. I want to protect what they're still firing at. There's something called Creeper Maker that they need to get rid of, I think. This stuff that I'm getting rid of is acid. If this was a really tight level, I'd have to think a lot more about some of these resources that I'm taking out, but the reality is this level isn't too bad. It's not totally straightforward, but it's also not awful either. So what I'm going to try and do is create basically a very big hole without linking it up with this tunnel above, because that'll just cause a bit of difficulty. I'm basically trying to create a big space for this creeper to pour into, and then I'm going to try and destroy the emitter. Most of what's in there really is basically bottled up creeper. I'm just going to try and improve my sort of spacing and coverage a little bit better and make sure that that's properly covered. Okay, I'm just going to open this up. I don't want it. I could take out all of this, but I don't think that really helps me very much. So yeah, so the pink that I'm doing, my cursor moving around, is me basically excavating a giant chunk of this level. I'm just going to get rid of this oil that's here as well, because I've got sufficient air coverage. That's possible too. I think that's probably okay. It's quite a lot, but it's in quite a small amount of space, and what we've just done is really get rid of quite a lot of land. So I think this should be okay. I'm going to basically let it roll in, shoot it, and then move this way. But given that I need to get rid of this anyway, I'm going to be a little bit cautious and just excavate a really, really big chunk of land. Because why not? Because I'm going to have to do it anyway to get down to this one at the bottom, because that's going to be my next stop after this bit's done. I'm going to sort of make it downward sloping, so it doesn't threaten my ships too much. Right, okay, I think that's probably enough. Just about. Okay, so you can see we've still got decent air coverage. Right, and then this is going to be, let me just, I'll tell you what, I'll get the fun, let's get the party started, okay? So, right, okay, so we do that, we let the dam loose, and the thing that's quite difficult when you start this game is it's sort of counterintuitive, because you look at that space and you think, well, that can only hold so much. That's much less than what you had before over here, where it was coming up to the top. But actually, because of the way this game works, that's not really true at all, because the density of creeper can be quite deceptive. So I'm just going to let that roll towards me. Pleasant amount of liquid physics there, I'm sure we'll agree. And I could be, you know, I could be really cautious actually. I'm going to be super cautious, and I'm just going to give myself a bit of extra insurance. Sometimes you get caught out by this because you kind of go, oh, well, that's not very much. That'll be fine, you know. I actually think this will be fine, because you can see that the level has gone down. You can see my ships are starting to attack it already. What could be quite nice is I could take the roof off of this basically once this gets low enough. Yeah, this is already down to about 100. 100 still, you know, in the wrong place at the wrong time. If you haven't got your fleet properly massed, that could be very dangerous. And you can see it's gone. You look at this small space that it was in before, and now it's, you know, now it really is a big wave that if my forces weren't here, it would fill up this whole cavern that I've created. To make things, to speed things up a little bit, I'm going to send in these 2 anti-creeper bombs, and we're just going to do that. Okay, right, boom, and that. I think there's something, I haven't really quite worked this out, but it's to do with the amount of damage you take, your fleet takes. While we're waiting, I'm also going to build these dart ships, so I don't really need those at the moment. They're basically used to destroy these little green dots of particle. I'm also going to rebuild 2 bombs that I'm able to. And once I get a sense that this is sort of calming down, this is already down to about 40, actually that's much less, you know, in terms of the volume of creeper. Some of it's quite, there's some big waves here. It's easy to misjudge things, and one of the mistakes that you can make is you kind of move your ships forward too soon, or you're in a tight space, and yeah, you get swamped basically. This level's not too bad. You've got rock and metal that you can't really dig into, so you can't terraform in the way that I've terraformed the other land. You can blow it up. There are ways of doing that, but it's just a bit fiddly, and it doesn't always work very well. Right, I've moved my ships forward a little bit. This is, you know, I might actually have to move them back, so I'm not going to move too much further forward. Just to help out a little bit, I'm going to put a little sort of shield wall. This grey stuff that I'm building is basically shielding. The creeper eats away at it, and what it does, the ships can shoot through it, but the creeper can't come through. The creeper has to destroy it first. So I'm just doing that to get a little bit of extra protection, because, as I say, the dynamics of this are what catch you out, and even though it probably wouldn't be fatal at this point, you know, it could be quite damaging. And you can see actually, it's probably a good idea that we did. Excavate as much as we did, because there is a lot. It's manageable, but it is quite a lot. So I think we've got to a point where there's a sort of stalemate, there's an equilibrium, and let's bring these two ships down from above. We're also a bit vulnerable, I think, to some of the air attacks that could happen. Or this one's heading toward, that one's going to pop. So I think we might be okay. But I think that is definitely a warning sign that we're. The problem is we're quite spread out. So I'm going to move this guy. I'll move this down. There's a lot that created a lot of creeper. Also damaged my my main ship. So I think while that's happening, it's not able to send out ammunition. I think so. Some of these systems are a little bit opaque to me, I must admit. I don't pretend to be a Creeper IXE expert, although I have finished the campaign. It's lots of fun. Highly recommended. Right, so we're ready to. I think we're in a good position now. I think we can move this one forward. This one. There's a bit of a wave coming. It seems like a thin wave. So I think the task of kind of moving forward, and the shape of this tunnel helps because it encourages the creeper to go down and away from the fleet. Move my capital ship forward. Okay, we are making good progress. I've got to bring this down, and I can use these dart ships as well. And in fact, the ideal place to put these would be down here, where they can mop up some of the creeper. I think we can make a move much further up, to be honest. Move a couple of these frigates up here. Yeah, there's not huge amounts left, so that's really positive. And once we do that, we can set up an anti-creeper operation. In fact, I can build these ships now. And what I'll do is I'll set them all to dump. They don't have anything to dump at the moment. What they'll dump eventually is anti-creeper. I'm going to create a big bucket of anti-creeper that will drop on this area down here. Right. Okay, so let's move these guys forward. Okay, we're nearly there. We're nearly inside this this main room chamber, I guess, with the AC emitter inside it. So we're going to need to nullify. The anti-creeper emitter. We've still got two up here, so let's bring them a bit closer so they can get involved. I'll use one of the bombs here. I don't know whether you could consider this wasting a bomb. I don't know. They can be quite useful in some situations, particularly when it's on a knife edge, which this is not. This is definitely not on a knife edge. I'm going to bring this anti-air down here. So I'm going to bring it down there, because otherwise I don't think I'll get there fast enough, because there's just about to be another anti-aircraft volley fired at us. Okay, right, so I need to Let's see if I can get a frigate inside there. That was actually very helpful. And if I'm quick, which I wasn't, I was a bit distracted by that anti-air stuff, but if I get all of these ships inside, that should be the end of that. And there we go, boom. Okay, that's excellent. So there's a bit of creeper maker. So creeper maker, basically, if there's creeper on it, it makes more creeper. Let's create another one of these bombs. Now we're going to build these, they are called ore miners, that's what they're called. Right, the ore miners are really helpful. What they do is they mine the AC ore, and then that can be used by various of your ships. I'm going to mine this out. So you can see this is all the AC ore flowing. I'm just going to try and build a little shield here just to keep the ore in, because that'll increase the efficiency of the mining process. I've been a bit slow here. I was going to move both of my anti-air my coil ships to here, just because that's slightly closer to the air attacks that we're getting, and it just sort of helps protect all of this infrastructure. Right. Okay, so we've done that. That's fantastic. Okay, let's just have a look down here. It's quite. So I'm looking at the creeper depth gauge, or whatever you want to call this. So it's somewhere between 250 and 300. So it's pretty thick, but that's certainly deal withable. And this is sort of similar. It maybe goes slightly above 300 in places. This one over here. So we're just going to deal with these one at a time, basically. And while we're doing that, we can just carve out even more space. You can see, I don't know if I've mentioned this already, but you can see that the sprinklers are turned on, as it were, and this is filling up with anti-creeper, which is helping get rid of the remaining amounts of creeper. And yeah, it's just another weapon in the arsenal, really, because it sort of nullifies the creeper that it hits, and it's useful. It kind of flows and can be directed in the same way that creeper can. So you can kind of pool it in certain areas and then unleash it when you need to, in some cases. I'm just thinking about how to set up the staging for this one, because basically I'm gonna let this go. I think I'm going to do it over here where the anti-creeper's thickest, and then what I don't want to do is become overwhelmed, because there'll be a sort of concentration of creeper. So I just need to be a little bit careful. There'll also be, there's lots of robots as well, so they'll all come out at the same time when I do that. So we kind of just need to be a little bit careful. I'm going to put my rocket shot, so I'm going to use the space that I've got. It's very easy to kind of, try and get too close in the first go, and then you get sort of overwhelmed. I'm going to try and use a mixture of these dart ships at the front line, as well as the dart ships and the I keep forgetting they're called the defender ships. These little ones are called defenders. There we go. Every day's a school day. Don't ask me to remember the name of any units, please. Right. Okay, so we've got all our ships here. We've got, let's see, I think if we move this here, and we've got this here as well. I'm going to bring this other digger close because it might be useful. so basically we'll clear this one out, and then if this doesn't sound like too much like hubris, we'll decant this one here, and then we'll get rid of all the emitters and we'll be absolutely brilliant. Okay, right, so let's open this up. For some extra insurance, I think I might just do that, a shield. Right, and so we got a big volley of anti-aircraft stuff. That reminds me, I should have moved these forward. That's probably the biggest challenge that you have in this game, is just to kind of remember where to move everything to. Actually, that's damning with faint praise. There's a lot of challenges in this game. This is this is a relatively straightforward map, but you do get ones that are with the randomized map maker that are really quite challenging. Okay, so I'm sitting pretty here really. We're slowly eroding the creeper. We've got our dart ships set up. Maybe move them forward slightly. Sometimes the creeper just sort of seems to spurt out, and it can be a real problem. But I think because we've got some a decent amount of anti-creeper here, that's helping a bit. And because the way the flow mechanics, all of this anti-creeper is sort of flowing towards that hole as well. And you've got more raining down from up above. So I think that is part of the reason why it hasn't been too horrendous so far. But I think we need to be a little bit cautious, because I can imagine if I opened up this whole thing, I think that dynamic would change and it would really come out quite quickly. So we just need to be a tiny bit cautious here, I think. I'm going to move these frigates slightly closer. I'm going to move these other ships here so they can get involved. These ones aren't involved at the moment, so let's move them forward. Okay, as we get closer, I guess also there's less time for your air defences to intercept these air attacks, which can be quite challenging. And as before, this is really the bit, if they get in behind there, and it does happen, then you can be in real trouble. Okay, we can open up a little bit more. We can throw caution to the wind. You can see that I've done this before and had a few problems. So right, lots of bombarding. We've cleared a bit of space now, so I think we can use one of these bombs, and that will be a good way to help get ourselves into this position. I think it works particularly well when there's... yeah, that was quite good. Okay, so that damages both the robots. Okay, so we open this up, now we've got greater access. Put the other bomb in, let's get another bomb cooking. Probably move one of these forward. You can see the wave dynamics. You can get very cocky with this stuff, and it's a bit unpredictable. The other thing we can do while we're waiting is just create some additional space for this creeper to flow into. So we've got all this space all the way over here, and so I'm going to get rid of the stuff that's there. Okay, I'm going to keep him there, but I'm going to move him forward as soon as this round has been dealt with, because as I say, the closer you get to the front line, the more you need to... that stuff. You can see that creeper is really moving forward now, and actually I'm going to have to move back a little bit, and yeah, to be a bit careful here. I think I'm going to just, I was going to try and clear that out first to get the acid that's in there, but as I don't need the acid, I think actually it's more important to just give this cavity somewhere to decant into, because it's, you can see up here, we are under attack. So let's see, have I lost any ships? No, I haven't so far, but it's pretty tight. The problem that you've got, I've got now, having cut off, having sort of shielded this bit, that means that that AC is now just resting on top. So that's kind of useful, I guess, as a sort of bit of a backup. This ship is getting damaged, so I'm going to have to move it back. This ship is also getting damaged. So yeah, no, this is the kind of thing that can happen. I thought I was safe, but actually, you know, it can change very, very quickly. So I'm going to keep excavating over here, and what that should do is that should kind of help release some of the pressure. A bit difficult to kind of focus on both things at once, but let's try our best. I'm going to move this out of the way. So at this point, this might seem like I'm losing. I don't think I am in any real danger of losing, but it's one of those things that you've just got to be really, really careful and sort of watch out for, because the dynamics, the wave dynamics of this game really do take you by surprise a lot, even when you're used to them. Even when you think you've kind of you've been quite conservative and careful. So I'm just trying to get as much space as I can and sort of dilute the number of areas that are affected by the creeper. Right, we've not quite managed to hit an equilibrium. There's still a lot of creeper coming up. It's not that thick, so that's positive. We've got 2 bombs now, let's use those. Okay, so this will probably help turn the tide, because they're quite directional. If they can get through and explode in the right way, they could be really quite useful. Okay, so there we go. That felt like it was quite a frantic moment. I think that's really helped. I'm going to move this guy forward just so we can just carve out a little bit more space. The nature of this game is you can kind of, you've got to be a bit careful, but you can, like, because the creeper can't go through land, you can carve out space like up here. You can use that space. Okay, I am sort of tempted to move forward now, in quite, in a sort of relatively bold way. Let's do this. Mistake, but there we go. I just feel like the time might be right, but I've taken some damage to my capital ship, so I better hope that was the right calculation. Move my artillery forward as well. let's bring these guys, let's bring this coil ship down. The coil ship is the anti-aircraft, sorry if I haven't explained that. Let's make some space over here. Now the only thing you've got to be careful on is that you don't, careful of is that you do not end up cutting through this pit and covering yourself in creeper, which can happen. I won't admit to doing it, but I'm sure it can happen if you're not careful. Right, am I building 2 bombs? No, let's build a couple of bombs. And you can see we're getting in there, we're making progress. I'll tell you what, that bit really worries me. But yeah, it's basically impossible. It's impossible for the creeper to get through. So this is a pretty good situation. Move this frigate forward. And I'm going to move these rocket ships forward as well. Let's head forward. This particulate sort of drifting up here, that's less of an issue. You want to destroy the particles as you're able to, because they interact with the creeper in a way that sort of promotes more creeper growth. So you do want to get rid of them, but also the main problem with them is that they can't be destroyed by conventional weapons. They need these dart ships to get rid of them. So it is quite important to keep your dart ships relatively far forward. Right. Okay. So we're slowly getting there. Move these guys forward. Now that we've got no real danger of anything kind of going through, I'm just going to get rid of this shield, and what that'll do is that all this anti-creeper that's sort of up here is not massively thick, but it'll just rain down, and I think that'll be really quite helpful. Possibly not the wisest move, certainly a bold move to move my capital ship forward, but I think we've got this in hand. You never quite know the dynamics of sort of wave physics in this game, but I think we're okay. Okay, so we're just kind of working our way down. Okay, I'm going to move this one a bit closer, and I'm going to move this frigate here. This gives us a good platform really now to start working away at the emitters. We won't be able to get sort of 6 in a row like we did with the first lot, but we will be in a pretty good position, I think. Okay. And once the particularly good thing would be if we're able to, I'm going to move that there because that's bothering me a little bit. Right, if I can take these 2 particular emitters out, that would be really helpful. Is there a bit of a distraction then? There we go, that's that. Okay, that's that lot. I can move this frigate forward now. And then I want to take out... I'm just going to take out this anti-air one. You could be more aggressive if you want it to be, but I don't really need to be at this stage. I can get rid of this as well, and that'll help bringing some of the anti-creeper down where it needs to be. There's a big difference as well, so I've been mostly fighting a sort of, if you like, a vertical battle from top to bottom, and that's very different from fighting a horizontal battle, where you just need to be a bit careful about, the dynamics are just different. so I've got to be a little bit, again, you've got to be a little bit wary. Right, so I can bring these guys closer to the action. That's it. I'm going to bring this guy down as well. I've got the opportunity, I think, here to just come edge forward and nullify that. That's quite handy because the robots are, again, just a bit tricky to deal with. So now we've only got one set of robot emitters here. Okay. Okay, so let's move this forward. Get in there. Yeah, it's a bit of a grind, but we are slowly moving forward, making good progress. The next thing we'll try and take out is this anti-air piece. Probably wise just to bring this anti-air thing forward, the coil ship. Let's get rid of this as well. Okay. Quite a lot of particles in this part of the world, so bringing your dart ships forward is important. There we go. See why it would be very useful. I think I must have an extra nullifier up here. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Silly me. Right, I should be able... I'm going to take these two out. I'm not going to worry about the robot thing yet, because I just want to get rid of these air attacks. You can see that the creeper has sort of reached its highest extent and it's now receding as it sort of drifts back down. Okay. Okay, that's really important. So we've now got only, I think, one more phantom emitter. That's the air. Those are the air attacks that we face. Okay, so we're nearly there. Nearly there. Okay, so now we just got to be a bit careful about move that forward and try and take out this robot emitter. I'm still going to keep my anti-air fairly close to the action because the risk, of course, is that the remaining emitter could attack them, and that would be a problem. Right, so now that I've done that, let's just have a look here. So there's about 500, there's a density of about 500 creeper in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this lot. Actually, I'm not sure that was the world's greatest idea, but just thinking about it. So what I want to do is I want to dilute this lot, basically. And then I want to drain it from the bottom. I think the other thing I don't want to happen is I don't want anything to come up here. So although this is completely manageable, main thing we're doing now, because there's no extra emission now, this is just a lot of creeper that needs to be dealt with. What we do want to do is get rid of the particulate, because as I said, that has a sort of creeper emission type dynamic. Okay, oops. Oh, I didn't know they could go through shields. If I did know that, I'd totally forgotten about it. Right. Probably not the world's greatest idea in retrospect. Right, let's see. Should be okay. There's quite a lot of particulate drifting up, which is no big deal. Right, I think we're okay. It can be quite damaging though, this stuff. It really can take a fleet by surprise if you're not careful, which I wasn't careful. So we're going to do this, we're going to try and just dilute this lot, and then I think have it come out. I think what we'll try and do is just have it kind of come out the bottom here. Right, so the next thing we've got to think about is trying to use as much of this space as we possibly can. If we can possibly get the emitters to roll this way, that would be quite helpful. Right, and what we've just got to think about is the extent to which so we'll just dig that out. I think this is gonna, I think there's quite a lot here, and with the best will in the world, I think it's still at the bottom, towards the bottom here. You're reading 250, 300 without too much problem. We've got 400, 500 even. So I've won this game, and I'm going to submit this. That's me. Exit. I'm not going to exit. I'm just going to finish this off because I think you deserve to see. It's satisfying, isn't it? It's satisfying to see all the creeper washed away and dealt with. So I think what we'll do, I think the way to handle this is to use, we can use the horizontal nature of this space that we've got to this is like the final battle. This is very dramatic music, isn't it? So there we go. Let's leave that for there. We've got this big basin of anti-creeper that it can just wash into, which is quite handy. Okay, and are you ready, audience? How exciting! Right. 2 bombs, let's build 2 bombs, and let's build another couple of emitters, although hopefully we can get this line one go. So let's just do it. Let's uncork it and let's go. Okay, and it comes rushing out, and again, just because, you know, experience suggests that these things are never as easy as you hope they'll be. Let's just give ourselves a bit of defense. Okay, so it all comes rolling out. Unfortunately, my computer, I don't know if this is a specs thing or if it's the way the game's optimized. It struggles. I would speed this up, but it sort of struggles with that. Like, is my experience. So we're just going to have to be slightly patient, if you'll bear with me. Right. Okay. There we go. We've got this nice dramatic music for this. This is brilliant, isn't it? just try and use the full extent of this space. And that's, you might think, well, why bother with this? Well, I think it's partly because you can. Okay. As long as you keep it separate from, say, this bit here, that'll be fine. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it doesn't become an issue. Okay, so what we're doing really now is just letting some of that flow. You can see it's sort of forcing its way in. This is quite a nice place to just drop a bomb, take some of the sting out of this tide of creeper that's coming at us. This stuff dropping down, that must be acid. Okay, there we go, that's one bomb, and then we'll drop another one. So I think, yeah, the solution to dealing with anything like this is to try and just let it dissipate, because it can be really dangerous in big volumes, as we've seen. You know, we had a few, it wasn't too bad, but we had a few brushes with not disaster, but we had a few issues, didn't we? Okay, right. So there's not a lot that we can trim away at this point, so and you know, theoretically you can use this, I mean, you can use this kind of approach in lots of different ways. I mean, I guess another way of doing it might have been to tap it at the top and have it sort of flow out and take shots at it and sort of it fall down into a big hole. You know, so this isn't the most aggressive I guess we could have been. I'm kind of hoping that we get to a point where this calms down a little bit. This is still quite thick at the top, which I think my mind says it was a good idea to try and dig out as much as we could here. Right, so I'm feeling a little bit like we could move forward, and maybe increase the flow a little bit. Famous last words, but let's give it a go. This anti-creeper sort of stream is quite good. That's keeping us safe. Okay, so we'll need, you can see it's still going very high, so that's going to be quite important actually, just that. It's these anti-creeper bombs taking the edge off this wave. I'll move these ice ships forward because I think they can be useful. Okay. There is a lot of creeper in here, isn't there? I mean, another approach, I guess, that might have at least felt like it was yielding faster results is if I'd moved my fleet up sort of higher than it is here. Oh, I totally forgot about this, these air attacks. Yeah, then I could let it sort of decant into a sort of bigger ocean. I think it's worth keeping, I was just looking at these two air defences, I think it's worth keeping those because just in case something goes straight up there and it's not caught by one of these two. Fairly unlikely at this stage, but who knows. Right, so I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing all right. Let's. We've got a little bit of a win. One of the things that's quite difficult is when you've got you do one of these bombs and everything looks brilliant and anti-creepy, and you think, oh, that's fantastic. We're winning, and then it sort of flows back because actually you haven't quite dealt with it really. It just sort of feels that way. But I think we are getting to the point where we can now make a move closer to the creeper itself, and what will help is taking out these particles, because as I say they increase the amount of creeper that's in the level. They sort of have a multiplicative effect on the creeper. Okay, I can stick another bomb in there, and we're getting to a point where I think we'll be able to use a nullifier soon. And then if we nullify the last emitter, well, that really is basically the end of the level. One thing I would say about this game as well is it's got a lovely soundtrack. Whoever made the final call on these tracks did a very good job. I want to bring my capital ship into play, but I'm just being a little bit cowardly, I think, because I don't. There's a few scraps of land that haven't properly been terraformed away. Okay, here we go. Right, this is it. You can see how the anti-creeper bombs are really useful, but they mess with your notion of where the sort of equilibrium line is. You can see we're very close to being overwhelmed by the creeper. Alright. So that means no more air attacks. So that's positive. So let's see, I think we can just about... I'm just going to try and take out the creeper emitter. Because I think if we do that, then that's hasten the end of the game. Not quite got enough concentrated firepower here, so I need to be a bit careful. Could do with the bomb just to ease things. Myself some breathing space, and I can stick a bomb here. Let's see if that's starting to recede from the top. That gives you a sense of the overall creeper in the level. Right, oh, I need this to be fixed. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay. Let's move this forward. I think we might be able to get... The anti-creeper might help us to get these two emitters. I'm going to move some of the dart ships forward so they can start to pick away at these. Part of this particular. Okay, so that's all the emitters destroyed, and now we're just cleaning up the creeper, because who doesn't want to eradicate all of the creeper from the universe? Right. And that's a good example of the kind of thing that can happen if you're not careful. Is you get that sort of you get that bubble when you put one of those anti-creeper bombs in, and then as soon as it starts to recede, then actually you can find the creeper coming back at you. Right. This thing. So there's no more creeper being made in this level. We're definitely done on that front. Remember I said, I think one of the things that is important is which way you're attacking. I think the reason this is trickier is because you're attacking, well, we're attacking side to side, but we're also sort of attacking vertically. Don't need this anymore. It doesn't seem to have been fixed. That was a bit irritating. Okay, right, make another bomb. I think we're a couple of minutes away from finishing this. This is receding quite severely now. You can see it was all the way up here. Now it's down back where that original pocket was, and if you look at the densities have gone right down. And we've also got this little meter over here, so that says it's 213,000 bits of creeper to 108,000 bits of anti-creeper. I'm not sure bits is the technical term, but you'll forgive me, I'm sure. Right, okay. The idea of my capital ship being in the fray here. I'm going to get rid of this, and that will allow the anti-creeper to wash in and just play its part in this. I've got an anti-creeper bomb that I can throw at someone. So now basically what's happening is you've got this big wave, but you know, still a lot less than it was before. This big wave of creeper that's coming in. The other thing we can do is we've got a few kind of dart ships, and they might be more usefully deployed just to the top here, and we can just shoot this cloud of particles and just get rid of them. I think because they're sort of floating free of any creeper, that will hasten the demise of the creeper because they're not multiplying the creeper, is my very crude understanding of this game's mechanics. Okay, let's get the capital ship involved. Go on, get in there. There we go. It's all crumbling away. Glorious slow motion. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Right, we've got one more bomb. bring those anti-creeper things in and just pour it down. Okay, and now what we really need is just the dart ships. We've got rid of so much of the creeper, and it's the rest of it is just going to... That's all the creeper eliminated, and now we're just popping off these slightly tedious bit of just bursting these little particle things. Okay, and let's round them up. Let's herd them to a point where we're just going to destroy them all. If you've stuck with the video this long, congratulations, you are a hero. What can I say? I like to be thorough. I like to make sure this creeper doesn't come back. Okay, and that is everything in the level, and that's everything. Thank you so much for watching. That was really good fun. Mostly straightforward. If you remember back, we had this little cavern to get rid of, and we did that. This took a bit longer than I thought it would, and this wasn't straightforward either, so it took quite a lot of effort, but thanks for sticking with us. If you enjoyed that, please like, subscribe, share it, whatever, leave some comments, that'd be brilliant. But thanks very much for watching, and thanks for your time here.